I'll support your bill, but I do have a couple of clarification questions. And one of them, Senator Hall asked and talked about that we have continued to increase funding for public schools. But I need to point out that the state share of funding for public schools have continually declined over the last 10 years. It used to be where the state picked up about 48% of the cost of our public schools education system. Not anymore. It's down now to 38%, but at the same time, our student population is increasing by about 80,000 a year. So it's not correct to say that we as a state have continued to increase funding for our public schools. The other issue that concerns me is the deferment. I guess we're looking at another $500 million plus of money being deferred till next session.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's not new money.
Well, it'll be new money to education.
But not new money from a revenue source.
No, it does not, other than the deferral from the MCOs, but it is new money in education that we will have to pay back, that we will pay back next session.
And I guess here's what my concern is. As you know, we both serve with finance. And what I see happening now, we have approximately a $1.2 billion deficit in Medicaid that we have to make up next session through a supplemental appropriations. But we also have a $1.8 billion deferral from Proposition 7, TxDOT. So we're already up at about $3 billion. This will be another another half a billion, more or less. That's 3.6
You're making my point why the number needs to be small on this, because we already have those other issues that are out there.
Well, and that's my concern, because we seem to be playing catch up at some point. And I know we don't have the votes for the rainy day fund monies, but I can tell you that I was here when we created the rainy day fund. And the purpose of the rainy day fund was to be able to use some of those monies to stabilize and steady the flow of revenue whenever there was a downturn on our economy. And we seem now to treat the rainy day fund more as a trophy instead of a tool for us to manage the state's budget. And my concern is just that I look at next session and we will already be in the hole, and it's $3.5 to $4 billion that we can identify just off the bat, and that's my main concern. And I know that if we took the House proposal, coming up with I think with $1.8 billion out of the Foundation School Fund, it would be an additional increase of almost $3.8 billion. And at some point, we need to stop and control these deferrals and start using some of the money we have available to be able to stabilize our budgets as we go into the future. And that's the point that I just wanted to share with you, and my concern that I have. But I will support House Bill 21 only because it will help some of my rural schools. Even though I think a better approach would be to increase some of the funding. And I do hope that once for all that during the session when we do the study and focus in trying to completely come up with a new funding system, because it is true, as long as I've been here, the public school finance system has been nothing but Band-Aids that is really starting to fall apart. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. And you make 2 points when you talk about some people consider the ESF, the Rainy Day Fund, as a trophy, but you've just listed $3 or $4 billion that we might have to make up. And if our economy is not strong next session, that's going to come out of the Rainy Day Fund. So suddenly that $11 billion drops to 7.
You promise the money will come out of the rainy day fund?
Well, I mean, I think we have to pay our bills when they come due. So, I mean, it's, at that point, if you're looking at $4 or $5 billion for expenses we have to pay bills on, you have to look at the rainy day fund. The second thing, I just want to clarify, when I talk about the state's spending on education, our state has only reduced the amount of money going into public schools one time, and that started in 2011. Over that biennium, we reduced it between 6 to 8%, and that it has always been increasing, even today. And we are currently above enrollment growth. I can show you a chart where our spending is now above enrollment growth. So the idea that the state share versus local share has shrunk is because the local share has grown at a faster rate. So while we may be growing at this rate, the local share has been, although it started lower, is growing at a faster rate. So yes, our percentage comparatively has dropped, but our commitment to funding education has only slowed down once. And you were here. We were facing a $17 billion budget shortfall, and education is half of our budget. So it's very difficult to take $17 billion out of only half the budget. And we did go back and, we've restored the money, but unfortunately, due to the complications of our current school finance system, we still have a significant number of districts who are still below 2011 funding levels. But we have put in several $1 billion on top of enrollment growth, and the way the system is so convoluted, it still hasn't gotten to all those schools. So once again, that's why we need to change it.
Well, and I agree in having to change it, because I don't read the numbers the same way you do. What I see now, the largest part of property taxes, and the biggest driver is funding our public schools.
I agree.
Any time that we as a state decrease our share of public school funding, local property taxes go up. So it's really a complicated formula, and I understand that. But when I look at the numbers, just the bottom line numbers, I see the state share decreasing, not keeping up with the cost of public education and the increase in our student body population that has to be picked up by local property taxes. So I do agree we need to revamp the whole system. I just think it's broken.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that.